afternoon. I'd like to call the salary board meeting to order for the 26th of October. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Cross?
Present.
Commissioner Herzog?
Here.
Commissioner Eichelberger? Controller Wickham?
Here.
Is there any public comment to come before the salary board? Item number 4. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of September the 28th of this year and on October the 12th?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 5 is the salary board actions. Is there a motion to approve the salary board actions?
I will make a motion to approve the salary board actions.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 6 is the approval of the merit-based compensation formula. Is there a motion to approve the merit-based compensation formula?
I'll make a motion to approve that formula.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on the formula?
Yes, Madam Chair, and while I don't intend to have a prolonged conversation on this, I do believe that since this affects our taxpayers and our employees going forward, that there are certain points that need to be addressed and made on the record for the benefit of our taxpayers. First off, I think it's important to point out that this is the first time that we've considered undertaking action on a pay-for-performance or merit-based employee compensation plan. While there was one previous vote to authorize a consultant, FMP, to move forward with the development of the outlines of such a plan, a motion that I supported, this is the first time that we're actually voting on such a plan. At several public forums of late, I've heard the accusation that there have been hackles against it and that I voted against, and I presume the inference was that Commissioner Cross also voted against it on numerous occasions. Let the record reflect that those statements are just not true. Second, since this is only coming to this board for our first vote today, I find it disconcerting that the cart was placed before the horse and that the elements of this proposal are posted on the county's website as if they are already in place. Fact is, it is only being put into place with our action today. In addition, relative to the posting on our county's website regarding the new compensation system, noticeably absent is the pay chart showing the $2.3 million pay raise granted in the middle of the year for a minority of our county's workforce. I believe the public has every right to see that spreadsheet with the facts surrounding the pay raise that were granted to the individual employees of our workforce, some of our employees on July the 12th. People should have a right to see for themselves the pay raises that were granted, and they shouldn't have to file a right to know request to get that information. Thirdly, and I think this is a critical point to make, and whether we like it or not, this Board of Commissioners is a lame duck Board of Commissioners, and depending on the outcome of the election in just 1 week's time, I would expect that the entire compensation system that started with the seriously flawed benchmarking process on June 22nd will very possibly be exposed to a reevaluation and re-review, the kind of thorough examination that should have occurred in the first place, in my judgment, with the benchmarking to ensure that the pays established July 12 were really what the market demanded. I will also state for the record again here today that it is my judgment that many of those salaries established on June 22nd, which went into effect July 12, were way above what the market demanded. I will also note for the record today that the downgrading of our county's deputy chief clerk position to administrative supervisor was never discussed by this board and never consciously approved by this board, although it was contained in the new classification structure that I had voted against. Having said all the above, however, I am today going to support the new merit-based compensation system for our county, which I have always said that I would support. Many of the elements of this plan are good, and I think, if you will, that the merit plan has merit. But I want to make it clear to our employees and our taxpayers alike that revisions may be in the offing. I think there's a definite need to re-examine the new pay classification structure in particular, but that has little to do with the pay for performance plan that's before us today. On the other hand, I also want to assure all of our hardworking and dedicated employees in this county that before any of this takes effect, I, for one, will want to ensure that the evaluation process and the process known as norming will be nothing less than completely fair and equitable. All of our hardworking employees deserve nothing less. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, as far as the lame duck statement, tell you what, I got elected for 4 years. That year isn't over. I'm playing till the whistle blows. So decisions I make, sure, they can be overturned, but I believe that many and most of those have been remarkably fair and will probably withstand the test of time. What is being voted on for everyone, refresher, is the formula at this time with the salary board. Any other comments?
Yeah, I have a few things I'll throw into the mix. And this has been kicked around internally, so I'm not going to waste a lot of time on it. But, I find it troubling. We've got, for the first time in a long time, a significant departure from the old way of doing things that would help us break out of the cycle that we've been in as a county. A lot of counties are that feed our budget problem. We've heard a lot of rhetoric about solving the budget problem, but there's rarely been much support for doing anything about it, other than trying to grab the latest headline. I find it troubling when we have a commissioner who frankly could give Bill Clinton lessons on defining what is, trying to establish the parameters for something that's extremely complicated and that we've employed people with very high credentials to do, both internally and externally. Now, that's not to say that none of that is beyond question. That's our job. Our job is constantly to question. And yes, revisions will be in the offing. They're always in the offing. More so now than ever, because there's at last a fundamental recognition that we want a different result in how we manage the county. We have to do some things differently. And those things are starting to happen. And I think that's the best opportunity we have to solve long-term problems if we focus on long-term problems instead of grabbing tomorrow's headline. So I have to agree with Commissioner Cross. We're here to do the job, and our terms are not over. We have, in fact, delayed this issue, which has been on the table for quite some time, far too long. And yet we're told we haven't delayed it long enough and wait until another board comes along. Well, you can always wait until the next board comes along, but we have our responsibility that we're elected to. That what's being suggested is just a way to continue the campaign to potentially derail and destroy this fundamental change in how we do business.
Yes, Ronald Reagan was
I'm not finished. I'm not finished. Go ahead. I'm not
Go
finished.
ahead.
I have one or two things I want to say. There has been this infatuation with censorship on this board for some time, and to the point of the fact sheets that have been placed on this website that explain fundamentally how this process was undertaken, what the premises, the rationale, what the procedures are, and what the results have been. And it is decidedly incomplete. It does not include those salary listings. I would be fine with it if those are there. They're public information. But it's the old adage that concise is the enemy of precise. And we don't have to put a 15-page document on the website for people to have an understanding of what we're doing. We've developed some fact sheets. They're very useful to people. That's why they should be up there. And they were discussed at this board, and only one individual objected to even having any type of rationale placed on the website and tried to essentially suggest that it couldn't be placed there unless there was a unanimous opinion that it should be there. What's there is factual. It is much more complete than any of the other so-called profiles I've seen of the issue. It's not complete, but it does give you the overall picture of what we're trying to do. And stifling people's ability to learn about the overall program may be a great campaign technique, but it's lousy for making the type of long-term change that we needed to make here. So that information is up on the website, and I recommend anybody go there and take a look at it. You're certainly free to ask additional questions. We can post additional things. We're going to make changes to the program going forward. But abdicating our responsibilities as commissioners, while it may be just another day at the office for some commissioners, that's not how some of us operate. So we've got some significant responsibilities here. This has been under development for some time. The opportunity to ask and receive answers to questions has been in place for a very long time. So do we have all the answers? No. You never do when you have to make a decision. We have a 2016 budget that will play very heavily into our long-term projections. We need to get a system in place for 2016. It's been delayed long enough. I have significant confidence that the outline of what's in place is sound. Doesn't mean there aren't some questions still surrounding it. But if you are waiting for perfection, you're never going to find it. We have to get something that we reasonably trust in place, and then we can modify as we go. We can continue to ask questions. But again, this is a responsibility of this board, and I think the fact that this board's chosen to take action and not started a new process, a new orientation process for a newly forming board that's going to take a year or a year and a half to get. Everybody knows it would take a long time. I think some people are counting on that actually as a way of simply put off. But we have the opportunity here to do something that's very important. Are there opportunities to make some changes along the way? We have done them. That's in place. So there will always be revisions in the offering. I think it's gotten fair vetting. I think we've received significant answers that will help anyone who looks at the fact sheet to formulate a pretty informed viewpoint on what the intent is and what the methodology was, and to see that we're pretty much on the wrong track. Unless your objective all along is to simply mislead and you want to just only focus your eyes on those cherry-picked facts, is Frankenstein's monster of an argument that's been pushed together to try to create a picture of something that just isn't in place. So this board's worked very hard at this. Our management team is made up of folks with extremely good credentials. They've done an excellent job. We have the outline of something really promising, something really special that I think the rest of the Commonwealth is going to want to emulate.
The motion has been made and seconded. This is on the formula only. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there any other business to come before the salary board? Hearing none, we're adjourned. If you would stand as you're able and join me in the pledge by saying, I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
See you.
I'd like to call to order the Board of Commissioners meeting. May I have a roll call, please? Present.
Commissioner Hertzler?
Here.
Commissioner Eichelberg?
Is there any public comment to come before the Board of Commissioners? Hearing none. Item number 4. Is there a motion for the approval of the minutes of September the 24th, the 28th, October the 8th, and October the 12th of this year?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 5, in the personnel transaction, is there a motion to approve those personnel transactions?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on the personnel transactions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 6, is there a motion for the approval of the merit-based compensation policy?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on the policy? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 7, is there a motion for the approval of the revisions to the county CDBG program budget that was presented during the workshop?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 8, is there a motion for the approval of resolution 2015-27, authorizing the submission of the fiscal year 2016 annual action plan for CDBG and the home fund.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 9. Is there a motion for the approval of the memorandum of understanding, the strategic partnership agreement between Cumberland County Library System Board and the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 10. Is there a motion for the approval of ordinance 2015-4, indicating Cumberland County desire to join with the York Adams Transportation Authority?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
This will be a roll call vote.
Commissioner Cross?
Yes.
Commissioner Herzog?
Yes.
Commissioner Eichelberger?
Item number 10 passes. Item number 11. The approval of contracts and grants that were presented during the workshop. They are A through I. Is there a motion for those contracts and
If I may,
grants?
I'd like to ask that we break out item G, contract with Livermore Associates for a separate vote on standing on that, please.
I will so move for the approval of contracts and grants A through F along with H and I. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I also make the motion for the planning agreement for Lobar Associates and extension request for the 2015 bridge maintenance repairs. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Stay.
And one abstain. For the record, you have that, Jen? Thanks. Number 12. Is there a motion for the approval of PennDOT multimodal grant fund application for the North Sample Bridge in Silver Spring Township?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 13. Is there a motion to approve the authorizing of advertising for bids for grass mowing and trimming for the Cumberland County properties?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 14. Is there a motion to file a grant application to DEP for the acquisition of a compost turner and permission to advertise intent to apply for the recycling grant funding? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 15. Is there a motion for authorization to issue an RFP request for proposals for telephone service for Cumberland County government?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I received your changes to page 6, satisfies what I asked. I have no further questions on it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 16, a reappointment of Boyd Weary to the Agricultural Land Preservation Board commencing on January the 1st with a term expiring 2 years later for December the 31st. This is for Commissioner Herzog.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make that motion and just note for the record that Mr. Weary has been a member of the Farmland Preservation Board since 2008. He serves as one of the farm representatives. The Weary family operates a large dairy farm in West Pennsboro Township. Before becoming a member of the board, Mr. Weary, the Weary family has preserved their family farm through the County Farmland Preservation Program. Mr. Weary has served on the board. He's served very well in the past, attending on a regular basis and providing thoughtful input as both a farmer and a participant in the program. So I'd just like to make that motion to appoint him to a new term.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on the appointment? All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Item number 17. Don't think we can have a meeting without this. So let's just sort of get on with it. What's changed?
Okay. We have a handout there. As you know,
Do these look any better if you turn them upside down?
Yes. No, actually-
You know, is it better down or up? Or
sideways is the way that it looks best.
are any of these not going to hurt?
No.
Unfortunately, they're all going to hurt.
They all say the same.
Okay.
When we, cognizant of the impact that the continuing and ongoing budget impasse at the state level would have, we respectfully request and receive approval from the Board of Commissioners to implement a number of policies designed basically to dampen our burn rate, help our human services people in the short run, continue services as high level as possible, and take other measures which would dampen our burn rate overall so that we could stretch our dollars for as long as we could. Part of that promise was to come back on a monthly basis and review where we stood. We had an internal meeting earlier this month, actually last week, at which time we looked at the results in conjunction with the Human Services Department. And I think the Human Services Departments are all pursuing to the department the policies that we implemented in terms of discussing things in a collaborative fashion with the providers to see how payables could be delayed wherever possible in order to continue providing services. We also have our finance department take a look at things at the macro level, given that we would have September spending levels in. And if I can I turn this over to Ron and Dana to run us through this ominous looking chart?
Sure. So we've been looking at cash flow real closely here the last couple of weeks. And on this chart, the green line you'll see, that is kind of a normal situation if there's no state budget problems. That's what our cash flow looks like. The blue lines on the chart are our projections, and this is a year look. This is basically from October 15 to October 16. The red bars on the chart would represent some kind of tax anticipation note, some kind of borrowing. Kind of December 31st is our first checkpoint. We're feeling fairly confident we can make it through December with a cash balance of about $14 million. Where we're looking at running into issues is February, March, April timeframe. Those red bars, that amount is compounded monthly. If you look at February, the 5.2 million in the tax anticipation note, and then 8.8 in March, that's not an additional 8.8. What I wanted to show you is once we get out to October, what the dollar amount would be in total.
So, and Ron, this is not taking into account any savings that our current policies may achieve. Again, we tried to look at this as conservatively as possible. This does represent a worst case scenario, but I think it pretty effectively in a graphic manner. You can see that in February, March, and April, we would be dependent on those tax anticipation note funds in order for us to stay above water. In April, in May, you see the blue line going up as our tax receipts, our payments start to come in. That will sustain us through at least through June, but come July, then we would need to supplement it. And just so everybody understands, a tax anticipation note can be taken either as a lump sum payment at one time or as a line of credit. And in our discussions to date, again, assuming that the budget impasse continues, we envision using the line of credit option so we don't get stuck retaining money that we might not need if our legislators and governor pass a budget in time.
So then that cycle starts over again the next July,
Yeah, then,
or has the potential to start over again next July.
And that's what we're showing here. A tax anticipation note is a temporary measure. And if the budget's not approved through July of 16, then we're talking a tax anticipation note will not help us for the long haul. It will get us through the 1 year period, but not beyond.
And would that have to be paid back by the end of the year?
The end of
Yes,
16,
that's-
yes.
That is the conversation I think a lot of people miss in this. They need to be paid back, as does the art need to be paid, as does a variety of other things. So you can't kick that can and not have the consequences of providing services. I mean, this doesn't get any better.
No.
No, and after July, when it's about the end of our receiving period for tax payments, then we're running on empty, we're running on tax anticipation of the funds, i.e. fuels.
And our fund balance is very healthy right now. We're expecting a $24 million fund balance at the end of the year. If we didn't have that fund balance, we would be looking at a very different situation.
Now, what we're hoping is, and what we will track to validate, is that the measures we're taking will alter this in a northward direction for the blue. But I think this is something we have to look at closely, monitor very closely, and take steps as if and as needed as time goes by. I think we've already seen a number of vacancies that are not being filled. Two that I recall off the top of my head. I think we've got good support from the department heads vis-a-vis travel. People have agreed to either postpone or cancel travel or hold off on payment. So I think we're getting good cooperation and buy-in from our department heads.
And the court
Hopefully,
expenses have been low too. I'm sorry, the court expenses have murder trials, those kind of things.
Yeah, we're having a very, Uncle, what is not every.
I know, it's not every day.
so again, we hope that the measures will improve this profile. Again, this is a conservative, almost worst-case scenario look, but it really sort of presents visually what it means when we say that tax anticipation note is partial and temporary.
Now, my question would be, would it then be advisable to err on the side of caution, take the tax anticipatory note in January, hold that thing, see what happens, pay it back, kind of like a loan. Kind of like, hey, I think I might need this line of credit loan, but I don't really need it. You don't have to spend it, do you?
No, but it costs a little bit of money to take one out.
I understand that.
So you take it
But
out.
if you take it out later, you're gonna have to pay it back quicker. I mean, if you were to take it out today, you'd still have to pay it back by the end of December.
Correct.
I'm saying,
You
take it
have
out
to
in
do it.
January and either save our own money and spend that, still have to pay it back.
We could, and I did find out how long it takes to do a tax anticipation
Yeah.
note. If you have a local bank that's willing to do it, it takes about a week.
Okay.
So our estimate is we don't want our cash balance to go below $6 million before we will be saying we need to do a tax anticipation note.
Right.
So we'll have some triggers in place that we'll be keeping in place on. And
But if in that election cycle next year, with all those in Harrisburg running in the General Assembly, this doesn't look any better next July, you're gonna be screwed up.
this is much worse.
I mean,
Well,
seriously,
yeah.
I'm not being flippant
I don't
about
I don't believe
it.
that has ever happened.
Well,
Ain't close.
I don't think we've ever gone into the next fiscal year without passing a state budget, at least in modern history, as far as my recollection is concerned. Now, this could be prolongated, this might be unprecedented and historic, we don't know, but I mean, if we get to, January of this year, and there's an estate budget, believe me, there's gonna be a lot of other folks that are gonna be in much worse shape than we
well,
are.
Terry sat here and said that it was like 300 in some days.
It was 337.
Yeah.
It was like 280.
Yeah, 280, 3 something. I mean,
But I don't know when that was, I don't know.
62 or so.
Man, a long time ago,
It's the 60s.
but,
George Leaders.
yeah, it's one of the longest times we've experienced relative to no action on the state budget, but I'm just saying that we get into January, February, I think things are going to be tough in a lot of other places than here. I mean, I don't recall any time, I mean, you know, in my time working in the Senate, any time where they allowed it to go to the next fiscal year and resolve the budget. So it'll be interesting to see if it gets there. Maybe we're heading into.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm hopeful not, but my job is to plan for the
I
worst
understand,
case.
yeah, I understand.
Right. And I do hope that I lose that battle with Terry, that we get the record. I would gladly pay him double. Any further questions or comments? We will be back on a recurring basis each month to give you the updated results.
Well, on your bi-weekly disbursements, I think we've talked about 3 to 5 million that we're putting in right now.
The bi-weekly
That does
disbursements, that's a $2 million payroll every other week and a $4 million dispersed check. So that's,
Okay.
so $2 million for a payroll, $4 million for a disbursement, that's $6
Okay.
million bi-weekly we pay out. That's
Okay.
not the $3 million additional burn.
That's not
No.
on
That,
top.
that's a normal cycle.
Okay.
So what we're saying is, we need $6 million in our account every other week to meet those, pay our employers,
Right,
our employees, and pay our normal bills.
okay. And we're currently subsidizing about 3 to 5 on what we haven't received yet.
On the dean services, correct. On average, it's about 3 million, but it goes to $1 million, 0, 4.
Right.
It's up and down.
It's currently it's about 4.7 million for September and October. So it's $1.5 million for September, a little over 3 million for October. Additional burn.
Okay. Any other questions for finance? On that overly optimistic, positive note?
Sorry about
Just
that.
really all the good news you could possibly take in at one time. Now we're talking about disbursements, and here we're looking at, there's $6 million sitting right here in item number 10, or in item number D. All right, so for 18, is there a motion for the general disbursement and transfer authorizations A and
So, second.
B? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 19, I'd like to report an executive session held October the 22nd of this year at 10:05 a.m. for personnel issues. I'd like to acknowledge for item number 20, the monthly reports from the pathonetary and the coroner for the month of September. Under other business, there is a contract, and I will ask for a motion for the approval of the Iconics Securious Technology, Inc. It's an upgrade to the computer-aided dispatch system from public safety.
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Under other business, as pertaining to an agreement with Claremont, I will turn this over to the chief clerk.
Oh, the weekend.
Oh, that was under salary board action.
That was under soccer action?
And already taken place?
Yes.
Okay,
But there is one other thing.
unrelated to that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
We, last week, presented to the commissioners for their review, 3 new policies regarding flex time, overtime, and comp time, and the third one on call time. This is not a request for anything other than to, we had offered to provide additional time if discussion was needed. We are trying to have some indication of where the Board of Commissioners stands on this prior to our meeting with the department heads next week. So this is just sort of a pulse check to see where people are on that and whether additional time is needed for discussion or what the disposition of the Board of Commissioners might be at this time.
Has everyone had an opportunity to review the policies?
Yeah, I just, I guess I had received a question about it from the coroner's office, and so I hope that, whatever you can consider the coroner's commentary with respect to this, but otherwise I'm okay with it.
Was that shared only with you because I didn't see it?
I don't know, maybe we should.
Yeah,
Was it pertaining to overtime or comp time?
On call.
On call.
I'm just saying, I didn't get into any detail. I know that there's a question about it.
Okay, we'd be happy to respond to it.
Yeah, I'll call Charlie, you never.
Okay.
So is there a consensus from the board, not requiring a vote, but that the policies be put forward through HR to the department heads?
Favorable.
That's fine.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Is there any other business to come before the board of commissioners?
Can I ask a point of clarification, sorry, so make sure we're on the same board. They're gonna have to be voted on.
Yes.
Okay.
They can be voted on in the next.
But the conversation is to put them forward
Just
to
wanna make sure I
the
understand.
department heads, and as obviously was elevated one question already, there may be others that could be addressed before the formulation of the solid policy that will come before the board to be voted on. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. We're adjourned.